Do you feel like your emotions are controlling you? This audiobook will teach you everything there is to know about improving your EQ skills so that you can become happier and more fulfilled. It's time to take back control of your emotions.
Hello, this is Eva Spencer, and you are listening to Emotional Intelligence Mastery, the complete guide for improving your EQ, relationships, and social skills to overcome anxiety, depression, manipulation, narcissistic abuse, and more. Provided to you by United Audiobooks. I hope you enjoy my audiobook. Now, let us begin.
Introduction. Imagine for a moment. You have a large, very important project that you are working on with a team at work. People are not listening to you, no matter how hard you try to communicate that you see a problem with the project. You try to point out that the project is doomed to fail unless they do something different, but everyone seems to completely misunderstand you. Finally, on the day the final project is supposed to be completed, the entire project fails due to your inability to communicate. Frustrated with the situation at hand and wishing that people had heeded your warnings when you first tried to raise them, you snap at everyone around you, telling them that it was all their fault, thus ruining relationships with many of your coworkers in one fell swoop. Your rage built over time, and when tensions reached a critical level, you snapped and exploded. You now know, after the fact, that you could have handled the entire problem in a better and far more productive manner. Unfortunately, at the time, you felt powerless to stop yourself from pouring gasoline on the metaphorical dumpster fire that was your situation. Perhaps an incident like that is why you are sitting here listening to this audiobook. You may have realized that you needed to better control yourself under pressure, or someone may have suggested that you investigate emotional intelligence to help you get started. Regardless of why you're here now, reimagine how the situation would play out if you were someone who possessed a high level of emotional intelligence. The work project is failing, but instead of worrying about the possibility of failure, you seek solutions. You are frustrated, but you know that giving in to your frustration will do more harm than good. Instead, you highlight the issues you see with the project. Because you are more skilled at communicating in ways that people notice, you are able to get your coworkers to listen to your ideas. Your team brainstorms ways to fix the project before it is too late, and it becomes a problem with work performance. Your coworkers enthusiastically agree to your suggestions because they recognize that you know what you're doing and approach the situation with integrity and empathy. One of them even mentioned to your supervisor how important you were to the team in completing this project. The result is successful advancement, improved workplace relationships, and even recognition from your boss for being a good leader in the face of adversity. You can see how much better the results are when the problem is handled tactfully and with better communication skills. Both of these come naturally to those with higher levels of emotional intelligence. While the person is the same in both scenarios and has similar feelings of frustration, they deal with that frustration in two very different ways. Higher levels of emotional intelligence are more conducive to success due to inherently improved problem-solving abilities. You've come to the right place if you tend to identify more with the person who exacerbated the situation. This book will walk you through the intricacies of what emotional intelligence is, why it matters, and how emotional intelligence can improve your life. Chapter 1. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, or EI, refers to the potential to recognize, control, and analyze feelings, your very own and those of other people. Emotional intelligence is a fairly new field of study. Its earliest origins can be traced back to Darwin's emphasis on the utility of emotional expression for survival. In the 1900s, cleverness was primarily explained in terms of cognitive elements, such as mind and problem solving. Despite the fact that several influential scientists had identified the importance of non-cognitive facets. In 1920, E.L. Thorndike used the term social cleverness to define the skill set of understanding and handling other people. The label emotional intelligence is credited to Wayne Payne's 1985 doctorate thesis, a research study of emotional state, establishing emotional intelligence. The mainstream media's interest was truly ignited in 1995 after a Time magazine article on Daniel Goleman's bestseller, Emotional Intelligence: Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. Since then, Peter Salovey and John D. Mayer have been the leading analysts on emotional intelligence. They define it as the part of social intelligence that involves the capacity to observe one's personal and others' sensations and emotional states, to evaluate amongst them, and to use this relevant information to help one's reasoning and activities. Emotional intelligence models. There are currently many models for the meaning of EI, and researchers disagree on how the term should be used. Some people believe emotional intelligence can be studied and then improved, while others believe it is something you are born with. This discipline is evolving at such a rapid pace that analysts' interpretations of the definition are constantly changing. The three most accepted models are Competence EI model, Blended models of EI, and Attribute EI model. Competence EI model. This is the ability to recognize the feeling, incorporate emotion to help with thought, recognize emotions, and to regulate emotions to market personal development. The 4 rules to this model are as follows. 1. Perceiving emotions is the capacity to locate and figure out emotions in faces, images, voices, and social artifacts. This works with the standard element of emotional intelligence, as it provides the foundation for all other processes of emotional detail to take place. 2. Utilizing emotions is the capability to assign emotions to cognitive activities, including assumption and analyzation. This allows the emotionally intelligent person to utilize their moods to better manage their lives. 3. Understanding emotional states is exactly how we analyze the foreign language of emotional states, and thereby can better manage difficult emotional relationships. And 4. Taking care of feelings is the method we use to manage our very own emotional states, and those of other people, for us to achieve optimum results. Blended models of EI. This is the model, launched by Daniel Goleman, which defines EI as a wide variety of proficiencies and abilities that steer leadership performance. There are 4 major rules to this. 1. Self-awareness is the potential to recognize your emotions, acknowledge their effect, and use them to update choices. 2. Self-management involves regulating your emotions and impulses and conforming to scenarios. 3. Social understanding is the ability to sense, recognize, and react to the feelings of others within social situations. And 4. Partnership administration is the capability to influence, get in touch with others, and manage the problem. Attribute EI model. Attribute EI is a constellation of emotion-related self-perceptions found at the reduced levels of individuality. Quality EI refers to a person's own understanding of their psychological capabilities, in contrast to the ability-based version, which pertains to real potential. Analyzing real potential has proven extremely insusceptible to the scientific dimension, so there may be little to decide on between the two.
I hope you are enjoying my audiobook so far. It would be a pleasure if you could let me know how you are feeling about this audiobook in the comments section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you could also like this video and subscribe to United Audiobooks to have access to more best-selling audiobooks in the future. Also, please, if you are interested in getting more free audiobooks, please click the first link in the description below. Now, let us carry on with the next chapter.
Chapter 2: Factors that indicate emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence has become one of the most important requirements for any individual's advancement in the corporate world. Emotional intelligence can determine how far your business will go in any given period, whether you are an employee or the owner of the business. Prior to the recognition of emotional intelligence as a key factor in corporate success, intelligence and critical thinking were two of the most important indices of success in that field, especially given the rise of capitalism. In 1995, Daniel Goleman published his book titled Emotional Intelligence. There, he discussed the phenomenon of EI and pointed out its importance in today's world. Goleman carried out research using over 200 firms. Finally, he discovered that the three most important factors for organizational success are technical skills, intelligence quotient, and emotional quotient. Even more astonishingly, he discovered that emotional quotient factors were more likely to guarantee success than the other two factors. Goleman proposes that there are 5 factors that determine emotional intelligence. Self-awareness. This is the first factor in the determination of emotional intelligence. Individuals define the concept differently, but the overarching theme in each definition is that it refers to the individual's ability to recognize their strengths and weaknesses, as well as their drive and passion. A person who is self-aware is intimately in control of who they are and is in tune with themselves. The purpose of this knowledge is usually to empower the individual to take charge of the impact their demeanor may have on those around them. Self-awareness is important because it allows an individual to clearly see themselves, empowering the individual to receive and apply feedback whenever it is given. This is also necessary in the workplace. When a conflict arises, the organization is better served if employees can express their displeasure respectfully, laying the groundwork for an amicable resolution of whatever conflict arose. Companies with honest employees advance faster than organizations with frequent conflicts. Another benefit of self-awareness is that it reveals one's values. It enlightens the individual on the various personal belief mechanisms that enable them to make better decisions in the future. A person who has discovered their belief system can determine whether it matches the skill set or core values required by the company for which they are working. When this is the case, the individual can act correctly in situations that might challenge their core values, and in doing so, they also uphold the firm's core values. Self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability of an individual to control their emotions and respond appropriately in any given situation, regardless of how they feel in that instant. This naturally flows from self-awareness. The whole point of being self-aware is that you act on the knowledge gathered. It hardly makes sense if you become aware of your tendencies and predilections yet refrain from taking the necessary actions in each case. Individuals who are self-regulated understand the effect their words and actions have on the people around them, and so tailor them to fit the immediate situation at hand. Empathy. This is distinctly different from sympathy, even though many people may conflate the two issues. Empathy is the ability to read nonverbal cues in our interactions with others in society. This ability is key in many situations, including reading, interpreting, and responding. Empathy is such an effective tool that can be employed in the workplace. For example, if you are a leader and are tasked with firing a group of people, empathy will inform you how to approach the task. Furthermore, in the international sphere where boundaries exist across state lines and cultures, empathy may be the primary language spoken. Everyone responds to kindness and understanding when it comes to conducting transactions and business. For this reason, even if both parties do not share a common denominator like a central language, they can still communicate if both parties have empathy and understanding for one another. Of course, empathy can also be used as a tool for manipulation. Recognizing and identifying another person's emotional state is a skill that is learned and honed over time. Unfortunately, some people who have mastered this skill use it to manipulate others, causing their victims to bow to their whims and caprices. Motivation. Motivation is a topic that has been rehashed many times over. It is the drive that compels a person to work, even when no compensation is being offered. The motivated individual recognizes that the intrinsic worth and the satisfaction achieved from the job exceed whatever material payment that could be made as a financial reward for the job. It is nearly impossible to find anyone willing to work below their perceived pay grade in today's world. The promise of a financial reward at the end of a specified period is the most powerful incentive that drives people to work in any sector. People who are motivated, who seek to work even in the absence of remuneration, are far and few between. This explains why they are often extremely productive in whatever endeavor they undertake. Motivation is required for the achievement of one's own goals, whether short-term or long-term. Motivation provides the drive to reach whatever goals you set out to achieve, particularly in the workplace. There may be times when you lose sight of your goal or the goal of the company. It is intrinsic motivation that will ensure you to keep up the grind and continue. Motivated people are often very optimistic. They are focused, dedicated, and committed to setting out tasks. These qualities enable them to handle setbacks effectively and to bounce back whenever they experience misfortune. This is quite necessary in the corporate world of today. Any individual who has not developed the spine to deal with unforeseen circumstances and to thrive even in the presence of such challenges may not last long in today's corporate world. Motivated people also attract like-minded people to themselves. This creates a sort of force field that can prove both helpful and necessary in every situation that arises. As a person in a position of authority, it is expected that you will transfer some of your internal drive and motivation to your subordinates. This will assist them not only in achieving their own goals, but it will also empower them to actively pursue and realize the company's goals. Social skills. Social skills set in motion the other factors listed above. Empathy helps you relate to what others may go through. It places you in a position to better and accurately respond to both spoken and unspoken signals around you. Self-awareness and self-regulation both help you understand how and when to respond to those signals. Social skills, then, are a collation of these attributes. A person who has honed their social skills will have little difficulty immersing themselves in the intricate roles that society expects of them. They use the principles enshrined in each of the factors to create a more cohesive, all-encompassing response to life's issues. It is critical to developing your social skills because it allows you to build a network of people around you. This is not because the person intentionally makes friends. Rather, the person appreciates and has implemented all the skills accumulated through years of regular practice of empathy, self-awareness, and self-regulation. They are simply better prepared to deal with any situation that arises, and, as a result, they appeal to a larger audience and command better results. Furthermore, they understand the importance of cultivating a network of trustworthy individuals and strive to do so on a regular basis. If you are in the service industry, you need to work on your social skills. In leadership, especially leadership in the service industry, you will be expected to resolve potentially awkward situations. You may also be put in a place where you must resolve knotty issues. Social skills gives you the tact to give appropriate responses each time. The success or failure of your company may hinge largely on how effective your social skills are. A leader is supposed to be the conduit through which ideas about the firm's development and company flow. As a result, they must have excellent social skills in order to effectively communicate their ideas to the people in their unit. When a leader fails to work on this skill, it has a significant impact on all people in the unit at the time. Things to remember. In summary, you must understand that applying the factors listed here will help you in whatever position you find yourself in the future. So, here are a few things to keep in mind regarding what has been discussed in this section. Make sure you notice how people react to you in every given circumstance. How people behave towards you will give you an insight into what you are doing correctly and incorrectly. This is a great benefit for you. Be careful about what you say and how you say it. The message may be lost if the delivery system is wrong. Also, your projection may be the determining factor of whether your message will be received or refused. Always seek to understand people. It would be wrong for you to assume that people behave a certain way for a certain reason. Do make sure you have a conversation with them. Find out the rationale behind each action, and seek ways to help them better achieve their goals along that line. For instance, we have spoken about the fact that certain people may be engaged in some jobs not necessarily for the monetary incentive. In this sort of situation, it behooves you to then find out what drives people in certain situations. This will make you better appreciate their struggles and offer solutions. Also, do not forget to network. Networking is the surest bet to achieving whatever plans it is you have set out to achieve. Whenever you have the opportunity of meeting new people, make sure you learn as much as you can from them, because you never know where that could eventually help you in the future. Chapter 3. Qualities of an emotionally intelligent person. So, how do you know if you are emotionally intelligent or not? The whole point of this book is to explain what emotional intelligence is and help you improve your emotional intelligence. Below is a guide that will show you the stage you are at in every point, and hopefully help you advance in your quest to be more emotionally intelligent. Emotionally intelligent people are analytical, deep thinkers. They analyze information that comes to them in a bid to understand if there are alternative ways of reacting to certain situations around them. The predominant question in the mind of an emotionally intelligent person is, why? Their determination to unravel difficult questions can range from seeking to understand humanity's origins to understanding why certain individuals carry out certain actions. They do this with the understanding that if the rationale behind others' actions is revealed, people can be directed to give responses that accurately fit into the picture of the individual's intentions. Emotionally intelligent people possess a strong belief system. This starts first with a strong belief in oneself. They expect the best from life and society. Their lives are usually regulated by a strong belief in the infinite goodness in humanity and the fact that everything will eventually work out. Thus, they are better able to handle a crisis when they arise. Faith, as powerful as it is insufficient to handle the crisis that comes your way as an individual. No matter how much you believe things will turn out for the best, if you are not actively working to make sure that it is a reality, such belief may never see the light of day. Savvy, emotionally intelligent people understand this, and thus make sure they put in the work required to make sure whatever plans they envision will see the light of day. Emotionally intelligent people are passionate and driven. They master the ability to tap into the part of their minds where drive comes from, and they can channel it outwards. Passion is one emotion that cannot be faked. You either have it or you do not. And emotionally intelligent people have it in loads. Passion is the natural love a person has for whatever they are doing. This love is then exhibited in the way the individual acts, in the energy they bring to their assigned tasks, and in the speed with which they finish set assignments. Passion can be for a project, as already stated, or it can be for someone. Passion is infectious. It is a fact that those in positions of leadership recognize and harness it. Emotionally intelligent people who are passionate often transmit this passion to everyone around them. The result is that whatever task they embark on works out beautifully because of the consensus in ideas and motive. Emotionally intelligent people are optimistic and willing to help out in every situation. They always maintain a positive outlook on life. It is no mean feat. It is one that they have mastered over several years. This is why they can create and maintain strong relationships despite whatever odds they face. They understand that many things in life are unstable. We may not have a tight grip on all of life's circumstances, but we can always be sure to control how we feel and how we react to certain situations around us. Chapter 4. Importance of Emotional Intelligence. Emotional intelligence helps you give appropriate responses in every situation. It is true that we may never know the sources of our emotions. Sometimes they are sudden and often not in our control. That is the whole point of an emotion. It is easy for people to state that since they do not know the source and cannot control their emotions, they are justified in giving in to their emotions at any point. However, one of the factors of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. This is the ability to choose how, when, and the extent to which you reply to impulses around you. The ability to be calm and unruffled, even amid turbulence, is an especially important skill in the workplace. If you are placed in a position where you have to deal with high-tension situations, then you must learn emotional intelligence. For instance, a pilot is expected to be calm whenever he is experiencing turbulence in the air. The same is expected of a surgeon who opens his patient only to realize there is an unforeseen tumor in their body. In both situations, it is expected that the parties be level-headed as they handle the unforeseen challenges, because the lives of other people rely on them. In such situations, the surgeon and pilot are better equipped to handle the challenges they encounter if they are emotionally intelligent. A person who is emotionally intelligent is not driven by impulses. Such a person is not aggressive and is not given to making decisions on the spur of the moment. Practicing self-regulation does not mean that you feel no emotions. You still feel angry, sad, or happy in situations that call for those emotions. However, it is expected that you are better able to handle your emotions when they arise, and that you can channel the energy from these emotions into producing something meaningful. Emotional intelligence helps you build resilience. Research has proven that emotional intelligence helps you weather adversity. Not only does it help you keep the faith in tough situations when you are leading a team, but you will also reap the benefits for yourself personally. The resulting theory of the study mentioned above was that people with high emotional intelligence were not impacted fully by stressors. This is especially helpful when you keep in mind that as you go up the leadership ladder, the potential stressors you will experience increase. Therefore, this brings to the fore the necessity for those who occupy positions of leadership to have strong emotional intelligence. As you advance in your career and the situations in which you experience stress increase, you will need a mechanism that will enable you to cope effectively with the rigors and demands of the job. Emotional intelligence is one of the ways of guaranteeing it. Another area that emotional intelligence is helpful is in combating anxiety, depression, and other such psychological ailments. Olson and Matan carried out research into the medical profession, a field which has arguably one of the highest rates of burnout in society. In that research, they discovered that there was a direct correlation between the psychological well-being of an individual and the amount of emotional intelligence that they exhibited. What this revealed was that individuals with high levels of emotional intelligence were less likely to fall into depression or burnout. These studies were not carried out in isolation. They are the results of research carried out over a specific time, and they all lead to the same conclusion. There is a positive connection between the amount of emotional intelligence exhibited by a person and their ability to withstand or succumb to stress and burnout. Emotional intelligence plays a vital role in determining physical health. It might seem as though most of the observed benefits of emotional intelligence relate only to the social and psychological benefits that it provides. However, emotional intelligence provides benefits that transcend these two areas. Emotional intelligence can affect the health of the party who practices it. For instance, self-awareness, which entails that an individual look inward to understand their identity, fears, dreams, and aspirations, can be an indicator of the physical health of that individual. Some diseases are linked to emotional states of mind, such as anger, depression, and anxiety. These states of mind can cause other illnesses, like hypertension and even diabetes in some extreme cases. They can also make the individual susceptible to certain illnesses and diseases, even when they do not directly cause them. Emotional intelligence teaches an individual how to manage these extreme emotions. And what this means by extension is that such an individual would most likely not encounter any such health challenges later in life. Also, the ability or inability of a person to manage stress can be linked to the level of emotional intelligence that the person has. Previously, we had discussed how, in highly stressful situations, a person who has high emotional intelligence can better handle situations even when they are intense and precarious. However, the physical benefits here are predicated on the fact that the health of the individual is tied to the amount of stress they can endure and effectively handle. Thus, when an individual takes good care of their mental state and their physical well-being, their health will hardly suffer. All of this is tied to the level of emotional intelligence exhibited by the person, which lends credence to the fact that emotional intelligence impacts the health of people. Emotional intelligence is necessary for resolving conflicts. Once you are aware of how people feel about certain subjects and learn to react to them appropriately in those situations, a lot of daily conflicts can be avoided. The truth is, it is easier, and often better, to avoid conflicts than to resolve them when they arise. This is one thing emotional intelligence equips you to do. It places you in a position to avoid situations that would potentially lead to conflicts. Furthermore, emotional intelligence helps you become a better negotiator. As an emotionally intelligent person, you are aware of the arguments that would appeal to a particular person and why that is so. Also, you will recognize the wants and needs of people, and you can better offer them what they want. This is one way of quickly resolving conflicts, and is also a tactic used by astute negotiators. You also stand a higher chance of being successful if you are emotionally intelligent. Emotionally intelligent people have a great deal of internal motivation. This means that they deal with procrastination better, do not easily give in to fatigue and burnouts, and have very high levels of self-confidence. Emotionally intelligent people can also focus on a single goal at a time and often will not give up until the realization of that goal. Chapter 5: Emotional Intelligence and Intellectual Quotient. To someone who is unfamiliar with how these work, emotional quotient and intellectual quotient may appear to be arbitrary numbers on which to focus. You may be wondering why they are important or whether they should be given any real attention, given that they use arbitrary scales with no real basis in nature. While our measurements are arbitrary, they accurately depict some key skill sets that must be considered, especially in the workplace and in relationships. Consider the distinction between being book smart and street smart. Which is superior? That depends on the circumstances. If you're going to be interacting with someone on a regular basis, you'll probably want someone who can navigate a variety of situations with both and be able to influence those around them. You want someone who can communicate effectively and work well with others in a relationship or at work. Do you require the assistance of a programmer to create a program for you? If so, you're probably more concerned with book smarts, because this requires practical knowledge and an aptitude for logic and problem solving. Overall, the two quotients are very similar, even though they measure different traits and skills. Both are intended to provide a quantifiable, comparable measurement of abstract concepts that are relevant in a variety of contexts. Understanding someone's book smarts can be extremely useful when attempting to find the best candidate for a demanding job. Understanding someone's people skills is critical if you want to build relationships and maintain a harmonious workplace or community. Emotional Intelligence Quotient. The Emotional Intelligence Quotient, or EQ, is important in a variety of contexts. If you're looking for someone to work on a team, would you prefer someone with a lower EQ but a higher IQ? On the other hand, could someone be just as capable of completing the job with a lower IQ but a higher EQ? Most hiring managers would agree that someone with a higher EQ will be a better fit in the workplace, particularly in a team-oriented environment. When putting together a team, you want to include people who are more capable of working well together. There will be less conflict as a result, and more people will be able to communicate clearly and efficiently while also managing their own skills and responsibilities. The EQ assesses and compares an individual's emotional intelligence to that of others. It predicts whether that person will interact successfully with those around them or whether that person will struggle as a result of an inability to regulate themselves or those around them. This determines how capable someone is of interacting with and influencing those around them. It shows how well they are able to understand, regulate, and influence their own and others' emotions, essentially determining how successful of an individual they are capable of being. Those with higher EQs are far more successful at understanding how humans communicate and interact, whereas those with lower EQs struggle to communicate effectively. An individual's emotional intelligence is assessed by asking them a series of questions about their interactions with themselves and others. This ranges from how well they understand situations to how frequently they have emotional outbursts. The score is then converted and divided into categories that indicate an individual's emotional intelligence. Because this type of testing is based on self-reporting of one's own interactions, it is important to recognize that it is not an exact science. For example, one person may believe he is particularly good at controlling his emotions because he does not emote at all, focusing instead on cold, hard logic. But this is a sign of lower EQ, not higher. Intellectual quotient. In almost direct contrast to the emotional intelligence quotient, an individual's IQ assesses cognitive abilities, rather than the ability to recognize and act on emotions in the most successful ways. When testing for IQ, you are looking at spatial processing, logic, reasoning, and problem-solving abilities. These require the recognition of patterns and contexts more than formal logic training or the ability to recall previously taught information. After all, someone can be extremely intelligent despite having very little actual working knowledge of what state capitals are, or the first person to discover each element on the periodic table of elements. That person could be an expert at figuring out the solutions to various logic puzzles, or recognizing patterns in how shapes are manipulated in ways that indicate the individual has a high IQ. People are born with a predisposition for a general intelligence level within a certain range. Depending on how they are nurtured in life and how much they use various skills, the same person's IQ as an adult can vary greatly. It will, however, fall within a certain genetically predisposed range. The IQ is calculated using several questions on a questionnaire that analyze the individual's ability to solve various problems. The goal is determining where the individual falls on a scale based on how many correct answers they receive. The score is then computed by comparing the percentage of correctly answered questions to your age and multiplying it by 100 to produce a large, easily compared number. The average score is between 85 and 110, with most people falling somewhere in that range. Those who score higher are generally thought to be more intelligent, whereas those who score lower are thought to be less intelligent. The results of an IQ test can be used in a variety of ways, from determining aptitude in the military and determining which roles one can choose, to determining whether children require additional support or specialized education. Those who deviate from average scores are typically deemed to require additional assistance. This can be in the form of more enriching, challenging tasks and education, or additional assistance to help them keep up with grade-level work. Which is more important? Now comes the crux of the matter. Which is more important, EQ or IQ? Depending on the context, there are several different answers to that question. However, before delving into that answer, review the most fundamental tenets of both EQ and IQ as a refresher. It depends on the context when asking someone whether they would prefer a high EQ or IQ. If you need a high-ranking military official who can make difficult decisions that could cost thousands, if not millions of lives, you want someone who can think logically. They must turn off their empathy and act solely on logic and reasoning, weighing the benefits and drawbacks. Someone with an extremely high EQ is likely to be quite empathetic, and while he or she is likely to control their own emotional impulses, sentencing people to death would be a major challenge. On the other hand, if you're looking for a daycare employee who will be interacting with children daily, empathy is key. It makes no difference whether the daycare employee can calculate the rate at which a meteor enters the atmosphere or the molecular structure of gasoline. What is important for a daycare worker is that he or she is empathetic, compassionate, and patient. Someone with a high EQ would be ideal for the job because, in general, caring for children does not necessitate being book smart, as long as certain safety standards are met. The best outcome would be someone who is emotionally and cognitively intelligent. Someone with a high EQ and IQ will be the best choice in most situations because they will have the best of both worlds. Consider a trauma surgeon who must make quick decisions on the fly with little working knowledge of a patient before coming in, and they have little time to prepare before attempting to save someone. They're in a life or death situation. The surgeon must be highly intelligent, problem-solving, and able to act logically rather than emotionally. Surgeons, however, must be more than biological mechanics. They must also be empathetic and recognize that the body on their surgical table is a human being deserving of respect and care. They must understand and act accordingly, ensuring that the patient is treated with respect, both awake and under anesthesia. Furthermore, the surgeon must be capable of speaking compassionately to family members during what is likely to be one of the most difficult times in their lives. They require both cognitive and emotional intelligence to truly excel in their career paths. Chapter 6: How to Improve Your Emotional Intelligence Skills in a Practical Way. It's all about skills when it comes to emotional intelligence. Skills build on each other to form emotional intelligence, and you can improve your emotional intelligence by learning skills that improve your skills. Are you perplexed yet? Don't be. This chapter will walk you through 7 practical steps that, if followed consistently, can help you improve your emotional intelligence skills. You will practice and understand how to improve your own emotional intelligence skill level with these skills. You will change your life for the better by following these 7 steps. As you master these steps, your emotional intelligence should begin to rise. Recognize your situation. At its most basic level, this step entails recognizing your current emotional or mental states rather than your physical location. Take the time to notice how you are feeling in that specific moment. Any of the other steps on this list require you to know how you are feeling at any given time. Before you can work on other aspects of emotional intelligence, you must first understand how you feel. Take a moment to stop what you're doing and listen to yourself to figure out where you stand. You want to know as much as possible about how you are feeling. To move forward, use the most imaginative words you can to describe your current mental state. If you need to, look up an emotion wheel and use it to select specific words if you're not sure what you're looking for. After you've identified what you're feeling right now, reflect on your physical feelings as well to gain a better understanding of how your mental state affects your body language. Examine every aspect of your body language to see how you come across. Then, figure out what behaviors you have or what impulses you have towards certain behaviors and how they relate to one another. This step may require more introspection as you figure out what kinds of behaviors you have a strong desire to engage in. In summary, think about a time when you were overcome with emotion. Perhaps you were at work and had a deadline looming over your head that you weren't sure you'd meet. You paused to consider how you were feeling, noticing that your emotions were starting to spiral out of control, and realized that, at the core of it all, you were overwhelmingly afraid and ashamed that you would fail to meet expectations. In response to that fear and shame, you were also angry at yourself and your supervisor for failing to meet expectations. You decide to reflect on your body after identifying where your emotions are. You can feel the tension in your body and see how tightly your hands are clasped together. You notice that your heart rate is higher than usual and that you are tense. You realize that all of this can be explained by your emotional state. Realizing how closely your emotional and physical states appear to be linked, you take a deep breath and concentrate on what you feel compelled to do. You want to give up and stop trying. You will fail anyway. Because you do not see the point in continuing, it appears that there will be no difference between deciding to finish the project or simply stopping and relieving your stress. This gave you valuable insight. You realize that your fear of failure was affecting your physical state and making you physically uneasy. Your instinct was to run away from the problem entirely because giving up would be no different than failing in your book. Practice empathy. Empathy is a major theme in the book. To improve your emotional intelligence, practice empathizing with those around you. Keep in mind how important empathy is for emotional intelligence and how important emotional intelligence is in social interactions. Empathy is one of those skills that should be practiced over and over until it is mastered. Make it a point to practice empathy wherever you go because it is so important. Empathize with those around you, such as your cashiers or that random person walking down the street who you will almost certainly never see again. If you see someone in a bad mood, figure out what's bothering them. If you see an elderly lady struggling to carry her grocery bags up the stairs to her building, offer to help her. If you can reach a child whose ball has become stuck in a tree, pull it out. By empathizing with others, you can improve your relationships with those around you. Imagine you're returning home from a late-night trip to the grocery store. You stopped in on your way home from a long night at the office to pick up some necessities. You notice another person closing their trunk and pushing their cart back to the corral before getting into their car as you finish loading your groceries into your trunk. The individual appears to be sitting in the car for a few moments, checking his phone. You return to the corral with your cart and notice a wallet in the child seat of one of the carts in the corral. You pick it up and open it to see who it belongs to, only to find it stuffed with cash. You have two options here. Either you pocket the cash and report the wallet to customer service as lost, or you run up to the car and return the wallet to the owner. In a nutshell, you're thinking about keeping it. You're short on cash and cannot seem to make ends meet. The money would be a lifesaver. However, after a fraction of a second, you realize how you would have felt if someone else had taken your money because you made a mistake and left your wallet unattended for less than a minute. You speed walk to the person in the car who is still browsing something on his phone, knowing the feeling of being financially ruined by such a careless mistake. You extend your hand to the person and wave his wallet. He recognizes it right away and takes it, checking inside and thanking you profusely for being truthful and returning it to him. Even though being selfish and keeping the forgotten wallet would have put you in a better financial position, you chose to be compassionate and return the wallet. You imagine yourself in another's shoes and determined how you would react in that situation. This is emotional intelligence at work. Communicate positively. Do you recall how negative thoughts lead to negative actions? Negative communication leads to negative feelings and behaviors. To avoid the negative feedback loop, communicate positively. This also keeps your mind in a positive frame of mind, which is essential for success. When communicating with others, use positive words whenever possible. If you must speak negatively, do so in the most tactful, least offensive manner possible, and word it in such a way that the good outweighs the bad. If you must criticize someone at work, for example, start by recognizing something the person is doing well, then state the part that needs improvement. Finally, add another positive element. This maintains a positive overall net emotion in your situation, as the positive outweighs the negative, and you still manage to get your point across clearly. Imagine your coworker's work has recently been sloppy. Files are ending up in the wrong place, and you can never find what you're looking for as a result. If you must confront them, start by saying that you have noticed how hard they have been working lately, and that they are frequently the first to arrive and the last to leave the office. Then you could say something about how you've been noticing that the files they've overseen have ended up in the wrong places. Finish by stating that when you finally found the files, you were struck by how complete the notes were within them. Notice how the entire message felt more positive in general by using kind language and sandwiching the criticism between two compliments. When you are the recipient of bad news or criticism, keep a positive attitude. Even if you disagree with the criticism, respect the other person's point of view and thank them for bringing the problem to your attention in the first place. Rather than being frustrated or annoyed, look at it as a learning opportunity and a chance to improve on what you've been doing. Create a positive atmosphere and recover from adversity. Similar to the previous sections, you want to maintain a generally positive environment. A negative one will only serve to drag you down. Maintain a circle of people you enjoy and trust, while avoiding forced interaction with people who always bring you down. Always emphasize the positive in your surroundings. This does not make you naive, rather, it makes you intelligent. You will be more productive, as will those around you, if you focus on a positive environment. You want to maintain your positivity at all costs because it is conducive to success. This can be accomplished by ensuring that meaningless criticism is avoided and language is kept as professional as possible. When you do face adversity, not if, but when you do, view it as a learning opportunity. If you fall, there is only one way to get back up. When you fail, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, take a moment to collect yourself, and keep trying to succeed. If you want to succeed, you must persevere, especially when it comes to tasks or skills that are more difficult. Your perseverance and positivity will be rewarded when you finally succeed. Remember that success does not happen overnight, and many of the big names you see as influential authors, inventors, innovators, and other household names built their fortunes on failures. J.K. Rowling, for instance, sent her work to several publishers, all of whom turned her down until one took a chance on her. Help others succeed. Empathy entails being invested in the success of others. When you care about other people, especially when they are a part of your team, you want them to succeed, even if it means you must help them. You are happy to help them, even if it means guiding them, suggesting ways to improve their situation, or even holding their hand through the problem-solving process. You do not mind because their success can only be good for you. You see their successes as a success for yourself, especially if you're on a team with them, but not in a narcissistic way. You can see the benefit of your teammates' success if they succeed. Your department performs better, your project receives better feedback, or your department may even receive more work, thus resulting in more money. You understand that your teammates are an important part of your team. Ensure that the entire group is taken care of by making it a point to guide your teammates to success alongside you. Always try to ensure that your teammates are doing well, as their failure means that your projects will never be completed on time. You will begin to see results if you make it a point to help others in your group. Though it should not be your driving force, it is present. Those you assist will be far more likely to assist you if you ever require assistance. You and your team are far more likely to achieve the best results if you both value the art of collaboration and recognize that you must help each other. Be enthusiastic. It's difficult to stay motivated by yourself, especially when you're at work. If you can manage to self-motivate, however, you will find that doing the job is hard work. If you're working on a project that matters to you or a job that you enjoy, your work will have intrinsic motivations, which means you'll feel compelled to finish it for your own satisfaction rather than for a paycheck. If you do not have this intrinsic motivation, you'll find it difficult to finish your work, improve what you're doing, or stay resilient in the face of adversity. Motivation can be lost if you become burned out at work, or if you simply lose sight of what drew you to that job in the first place. If you can figure out what drew you to the job in the first place, you might rekindle your motivation and reap the benefits that come with it. Consider the following scenario. You are a nurse. You chose nursing because you are deeply committed to assisting others and believe that all people, regardless of their financial circumstances, are entitled to the best possible care. Because of that value, you chose to work as an emergency room nurse in a low-income neighborhood in your city. As a result, you're frequently rushed with too many patients and not enough time. Doctors move them in and out as quickly as possible to avoid the ER becoming overburdened in the event of a true emergency. Many of the people you see are homeless, poor, or without health insurance, and the number of people using drugs, drinking too much alcohol, or being mentally ill is staggering. Many of them become enraged if you are not quick enough, even if you are overworked. They may also yell at you if you apologize and tell them that you are unable to prescribe any of the drugs they are requesting. The longer you stay in this situation, the more jaded you will become. That capacity for compassion and passion for helping others that you had at the start becomes completely depleted over time. You decide to do the bare minimum and keep things as professional as possible because you can no longer keep up with the demands on your mental health. Because you were tired of being mistreated, you stopped going above and beyond. As a result, you lost interest in what you do. You've lost sight of the value that drew you to your job in the first place, and you dread going to work most days. Rather than quitting, take a step back and consider what drew you to it in the first place. You might rekindle your passion for nursing if you consider why you wanted to be a nurse in the first place. Maybe you were inspired by seeing how compassionately someone treated your younger sister when she was seriously ill and in the emergency room without insurance or money for a regular doctor. You may recall that your original goal was to be that person for others who arrive scared, hurt, sick, or even cold some nights. You wanted to be the person who supported them and treated them with compassion and humanity, regardless of why they are there or how much money they have. When you think back on this hypothetical origin story, the intrinsic motivation is rekindled as a result of your rekindled passion. You find yourself wanting to give your all again, even if you are underappreciated at times, because you know that some people do appreciate you. Chapter 7. Obstacles to Emotional Intelligence Development. Much of this book's discussion is centered on helping you understand the importance of developing emotional intelligence and assisting you in doing so. If you've made it this far in the book, you've probably realized that emotional intelligence is far more important than intelligence quotient or technical skills. However, despite how important emotional intelligence is, many people struggle to develop it. They face obstacles that make it difficult, if not impossible, for them to improve their emotional intelligence. So, now that we've discussed how to effectively develop emotional intelligence, I believe it's just as important to discuss the various factors that make emotional intelligence development difficult. The lack of empathy is the first on this list. Empathy is a crucial component of emotional intelligence development. In fact, it appears that a discussion of emotional intelligence is impossible to have without mentioning this crucial component. As a result, without empathy, it is impossible to develop and grow emotional intelligence. Humanity's level of empathy has dropped, and this is not specific to any one group or population. Over the last century, there has been a general decline in empathy. According to research conducted by the University of Michigan, there has been a steady decline in the level of empathy expressed by humans over the last 8 years. This has been attributed to several factors. One reason is a growing reliance on artificial intelligence and machines. As a result of our increased reliance on artificial intelligence, we are losing touch with basic human interactions that bind us together as people. We fail to understand and relate to other people's feelings, which is a key feature of emotional intelligence development. As a result, we fail to develop emotional intelligence as well. Additionally, selfishness stifles the growth of emotional intelligence. When you put yourself first without thinking about others, it's impossible to develop emotional intelligence. When the spotlight is solely on you, you may never fully comprehend the other party and, as a result, never develop emotional intelligence. Individuals tend to be selfish when it comes to their emotions. They work hard to keep their emotions safe, leaving no room for vulnerability. They are prone to prioritizing their own emotional needs over those of others. The ability to develop and grow one's emotional intelligence is harmed by this type of closed-off personality. A certain level of emotional vulnerability is required for anyone to develop emotional intelligence. Of course, protect yourself from being hurt by others, but sometimes doing so closes you off to new experiences that could help you improve your emotional intelligence skills. There are some things you may never learn if you do not expose yourself to hurt and other negative emotions. Finally, a lack of understanding the importance and characteristics of emotional intelligence can stymie an individual's ability to develop emotional intelligence effectively. When a person does not recognize the importance of emotional intelligence in their daily lives, they will be unable to recognize the need to improve it. If you've listened to this audiobook, however, you won't be affected by this challenge because if there's one thing it has accomplished, it is a thorough explanation of the importance of emotional intelligence. Furthermore, some people are unaware of how they are perceived by others and thus are unable to respond appropriately. This is primarily a self-awareness issue. When a person is unaware of how others perceive them, they will be unable to determine how and what adjustments they can make. Emotional intelligence is based on self-awareness and an awareness of those around you. The first step is to gain a better understanding of your biases, and once you've done that, you can work on improving your emotional intelligence. Paying attention to the people around you is one way to do this. There are numerous opportunities to learn more about the people in your immediate community. It could be as simple as paying attention to what the person says when they are angry, or even recognizing what causes the person to become angry in the first place. The first step is to observe the world around you. When you do so, you will be astounded at how much your sense of empathy, and thus your level of emotional intelligence, will improve. Conclusion. Emotional intelligence is the roadmap to becoming a good friend and human being. Everyone has some level of emotional intelligence, and it can be learned. We wonder what it's like to be an adult when we're young. We believe that being an adult means being able to express your emotions in any way you want, because that is what children observe. Much has been said about the subject. Now it's time to put it into action. This is where most of the work and the benefits are concentrated. Emotional intelligence is a difficult skill to master. Put everything that has been discussed in this book into practice, and it's a lot of work. Even with the best of intentions, you may still fail, so you must plan for this possibility. Because it piques our interest, emotional intelligence is unique and important. This is what distinguishes us as human beings. We are human, beautiful in our own way, and we are fortunate to be evolved enough to recognize it. I hope you found this eye-opening guide useful. It takes time to learn who you are inside your own mind and feel your emotions the way that they were meant to be felt. But you can grow into the person you looked up to as a child. You must look inside yourself. The journey will be bearable if you keep your eyes on the prize, even if it is not easy. If you enjoyed this audiobook and you've learned about emotional intelligence, an honest review is always appreciated and will help me reach new listeners just like you who want to improve their EQ. Good luck on your journey. Eva Spencer.
We appreciate you tuning in to one of our captivating audiobooks. For more immersive experiences, here is another audiobook we're certain you'll enjoy. Don't forget to show your support by liking this video, sharing what you loved about this audiobook in the comments section below, and subscribing for more captivating audiobooks like this. Thanks for being a part of our audiobook community.